It's go time. Okay, the old coot here coming back at you with another exciting video. If you saw the video just prior to this one, I was talking about this beautiful Kitchen Perfection knife that I got, and now we're actually going to use it. So it's already been washed, it's been cleaned. This is the first time using it. It is sharp as heck. I'm just barely touching it, and I can tell this is extremely sharp. What I love about the knife as well is that it does come with like a little leather strop type thing. It's not, you know, the only way to sharpen the knife, but before every use I would just kind of do one of these and just kind of like strop the knife so that you get that very, very fine honed edge to basically cut through pretty much anything. By the way, high carbon steel, so you have to be careful when using it. Try not to leave it submerged in water for any length of time. Use it, wash it with warm soapy water, dry it off immediately with like a paper towel or something. I wouldn't necessarily stick this in the dishwasher. You'll have to read the instructions that come with it, as I showed you in the previous video, to kind of get a full detail of what's going on there. But great presentation box as well. Anyways, let's get cooking. So first thing I want to do is I want to chop up some onion very finely, or like as fine of a dice as I can. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go little quarter of an onion here, maybe a little bit less, but I'm just going to go across. Pretty simple, and the knife is performing beautifully. I'm grabbing the knife like this, very ergonomic in the hand, by the way, just to show you all. And what I'm doing is a 3-finger grab on the bottom, 1 finger here to kind of stabilize me a little, and then the thumb to stabilize me left to right this way. So I've got stabilization left and right, as well as up and down, right? Because I'm applying force. And then to chop, as I've shown you in other videos, is you never want to chop like this. You might cut a finger off or fingertip. What you want to do is just curl your knuckles so that you're almost making like a claw shape, and the knife is basically riding on, if you can see that, the knife is basically riding on your knuckle instead of cutting your fingertips off. So all I'm doing is just going straight down and through, and this is cutting like butter. I mean, obviously it's the first time using this knife. When I get to like right here, what I do is I turn and rotate and then just do the same thing. Just come down. And remember, this is a sauce that I'm going to be putting on some lamb that I'm barbecuing right now on the grill. Another tip is a lot of people will scrape with the blade of the knife. It's okay to do. I'm guilty of doing it as well. But ideally, what you want to try to do is scoop instead of scraping when you're coming across your cutting board. What scraping does is it just dulls the blade out quicker. But still a very sharp knife regardless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and just give it one more chop again. And just coming straight down through. This would be okay for like a rustic type of a vibe, if you know what I mean. And that's honestly about what I'm really going for. So I wouldn't even go finer than this. You know, just kind of keep it. So here's where your scrape comes in. And what you want to do is scoop and then dump instead of scraping. So scraping would be if I would do this and drag the sharp edge across the board. What I want to do is scoop so that there's less impact to the sharp edge of that blade. So I would say, yeah, like about 1/6 of an onion probably went in there, something like that. Now let me get my garlic ready. I've already done 2 cloves, but same kind of vibe. What I'm going to do is just press down a little bit, right? And then peel my garlic. This to me is the best way of doing it. Like I've seen other ways or styles, but this is just the best way. So anyway, same kind of vibe here. I'm just going to look to go across and down, kind of like a rough chop. And then you could leave it like this, or if you want to get a little more, you know, like I said, if you were going to scrape, please don't scrape, just scoop. Like scoop and pivot, alter, do whatever you got to do. And then what I'm going to do is just do like a rolling chop through. And this knife is great at that. Like the curvature of the blade kind of helps with that rolling action. Very similar to like an Asian style chopper, you know, that kind of a vibe. I think that's basically what they're trying to go for here. So nice chunky garlic bits. If you wanted to go even finer than this, that's totally fine. Like you could chop it even finer. You could also put this into a food processor if you wanted to. I find that if you are going to do the food processor method, what I would do is kind of do a little pre-chop, put it in your food processor with your sours, like your red wine vinegar or your lemon. And then when you're done chopping or processing, then add your beautiful olive oil. In this case, I'm using Gaia Oliva, which is a very high quality extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to show you this in another video. But that's basically it. And the reason why you don't want to throw your olive oil into your food processor is because what happens is it gets like a bitter kind of a taste the more you you blend it in the food processor. So olive oil is like one of the last things you should put into your food processor if you have to. If you can just stir it and make like a, I don't even know the correct terminology. I didn't go to chef school or anything, but I think it's almost like a chutney or like something similar. Anyways, here's a few mint leaves that were picked, you know, washed, clean, that kind of vibe. And all I'm doing is the same kind of vibe. I'm just kind of going across here and just doing like a little rough chop. Those oils are going to kick in once you start chopping this as well. And the smell that's coming off of this is amazing. By the way, Italian mint. Italian mint is also known as like mojito mint. That's another good name for it. Or like the spearmint. The spearmint varieties tend to be like the sweeter, mintier tasting, better pleasantly tasting mint. The peppermint varieties tend to be more peppery, more spicy, a little more mentholy, kind of like something you'd find like in a dentist's office. So spearmint is the family, the category of mint that we're using here. So now what I want to do is I just want to get some oregano from, this is like a dried oregano. I got this for, what is this, $4.28 from like the grocery store. You can kind of find jars of this stuff if you wanted to go that way. I just find that this Italian type oregano is like potently strong. So I'm just going to use a little. I tried to measure in my hand, not in the bowl, because if I overspill, I just want to make sure I can, you know, get enough in there. But basically what I'm looking for is something like that. I would say that's the equivalent of maybe, you know, maybe ballpark like about little less than like 1/8 of a teaspoon, something like that. What I want to do is just give it a quick little pulverization in my hand and get that in there. So now here's another trick is always put in your salt, your vinegar, or your lemon juice. You could use either one before you add your olive oil. Remember, olive oil is like the last thing that you should put in there as like a finisher. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a pinch of salt. The technical term, maybe this is about, I would say maybe like 1/4 teaspoon. Just get that salt in there. And then what I'm going to use is some little, these are, what are these? Forgot the brand name. Oxo Good Grips make some really good tongs. So I'm just going to take some tongs and just kind of make sure everything's kind of in there. What I could also put in there is some black pepper, which I'm going to do now. A couple grinds of that. Not too much, but just enough. You could also put some red pepper flake in there if you want a little more spicier. You know, you kind of get the idea. But try to mix all this up first. The goal here is we're going for sour and heat. Like heat in terms of like that garlic kind of heat that you get from the garlic. And that's really the whole goal with like Italian cooking, Italian barbecuing. This is a very traditional sauce. So you can put it on chicken, you can put it on fish. In my case, lamb. You could also put this on a steak. Oh my God, it's just absolutely amazing. And just like this, kind of chunky like this. Try to make this when you first put your meat on the grill, or even like half an hour before. You could make this a day before, even, you know, if you want to do it that way. Vinegar now is kind of like a taste preference kind of a thing. I put in about like a teaspoon or two, maybe sometimes a tablespoon. I would say that's about a good like tablespoon or so full. And let all this shine. So what's going to happen is as this sits on your countertop, like if you're going to eat it the same day, I would just leave it on your countertop. The smell is incredible. What I'm picking up there is the sourness, the brightness of the vinegar, right? Then I'm getting the mintiness of the mint. I'm also getting that punch of the garlic in there, right? And then I'm picking up that oregano, which has that unique oregano kind of vibe going on. So now that I've mixed it, now what I want to do is go ahead and add my olive oil. And I'm probably going to do about a teaspoon, maybe even a tablespoon or so. I know a lot of the Argentinians, when they're making their like chimichurri sauce, they just drown it in olive oil. You could do that too if you wanted to. Think of this as kind of being like similar process to the chimichurri. The difference is I'm not going to put as much oil. I'm just going to put about a teaspoon, maybe like a tablespoon, but just a little drizzle. And I would say it's about a teaspoon. But oh my God, if we had smell-o-vision, wow, this olive oil is just amazing from Gaia Olivo, the extra virgin olive oil. It's peppery. It's a bright floral olive kind of a taste to it. This is the good stuff. This is the stuff that you don't want to cook with. You just want to use it as like a finisher on a salad dressing, as a garnish. You know, you kind of get the idea. But I'll be back again with another video talking about this shortly, so stay tuned. But anyways, hope this video out there helps someone. I'm the Old Coot. I'll put links to most of the stuff that you saw in this video down there below in the description. also in the comments and also on my Amazon storefront. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll talk to you soon.